What do you think about the new format of E3, and do you like it, or do you like the old E3 better?
As a developer, it's a lot harder to see what other people have kind of come up with and developed. And so in that sense, being able to see other people's games, the old E3 was better. But this new E3 kind of have a smaller space, a more private atmosphere. So I get the feeling that one of the good things about the new E3 is that people who come here to enjoy the games, the visitors who come in to look at the games, get a better look at them because they have a smaller space to work in.
And for Zack and Wiki, what were your influences towards that game? What games did you draw from for this new game that you're working on now?
There aren't a lot of games out that are similar, really, to Zack and Wiki, but the director of the game really likes the old classic adventure point-and-click games. So that was really the biggest influence, the biggest basis of this game.
What type of gamer are you directing Zack and Wiki towards? What type of gamer do you think will enjoy it best, or maybe all gamers will enjoy it?
We think that the gamers that love puzzle solving and kind of puzzles will probably enjoy the game most. There's a lot of those kind of elements in this game, but we never really thought about it to be directed at any specific hardcore gamers or the casual gamer. We do think that it's a game that can appeal to a very broad audience so that almost anyone can enjoy it.
And we know that the remote is used specifically for some puzzle-solving elements, pulling levers and such. Would this type of game have been possible without the unique controls of the remote?
The game as it is now probably wouldn't have existed without the Wii remote, mainly because it's such a huge part of the game. It probably would have come out as some other type of puzzle-solving adventure game, but because of the uniqueness of the Wii remote, we were really able to come up with something very refreshing and new as a result.
Do you feel as though you're introducing a new genre to the Wii, and do you think that this will spawn other games like it or many sequels?
I think that as developers, we're always kind of looking for a new type of game, to create a new genre, and kind of find a new way of introducing a game to gamers. I'm actually a little surprised that no one's made a game like this yet for the Wii, and that we're actually the first. That's something that I'm a little surprised about, but I do think that kind of these like new genres and new kinds of games will definitely keep coming out.
On that note, and as someone who is using the remote creatively like this, what type of uses would you like to see in the future on the Wii, and what type of creative types of different games would you like to see use the remote?
If I had an idea of a new kind of way to use the Wii remote, rather than say it here, I'd probably just try and include it in the next game. So that's one thing. Zack and Wiki is a game where while you're only solving one puzzle, you can solve it with more than one person. So you can have a group of people solving it, but there's only one Wii remote being used. It's a single-player game. So maybe something that can be used in the future is maybe multiple players with Wii remotes, like multiple Wii remotes being used to solve a puzzle. That's kind of maybe one idea that I'd like to consider.
How difficult would you describe the puzzles as being in Zack and Wiki? Would you think you need more than one person to solve them quickly?
It's very difficult to kind of measure the difficulty of the puzzles. It also tests different skills and different ways of thinking, so it's very hard to put a scale on the difficulty. There are some puzzles that are easier to solve than others, but some of these puzzles, maybe it'll take a longer time for adults to solve them than children. One might test a logical thinker as opposed to someone who kind of tries to solve them instinctively. So they're very different types of puzzles, and you have to use a lot of different ways of thinking to try and solve them. The difficulty level is not in a straight line, it's very hard and zigzag. So I think it challenges, if it's a single player, it'll challenge you to kind of, think in a lot of different ways, kind of be flexible in your thinking, and that with a group of people, it might be easier and more fun to kind of work through the puzzle solving process.
すごく早く解けるパズルとかもある。
And finally, what can we expect from the heroes of the game? Are they more traditional, or can we expect something new from the storyline as you solve these puzzles?
いわゆるその
The story is relatively simple, but since the target age range is from young to old, we didn't want to make it too simple because then adults would lose interest. We wanted to make it a little bit deeper, have a little bit of a twist, so that even an adult can enjoy the storyline. So it follows a pretty traditional story kind of line, but there are little things here and there that we've consciously put in to make it a little bit more interesting for an older player.
そのただそのいわゆるストーリーデモであったり